Hey everyone, welcome to this Forge College Explainer, Rise of Interactivity, User-Generated Content and Platforms. Today, we're unrolling the blueprints of the interactive web. In our last session on the origins of the web, we talked about those early static pages. You know, the ones that basically felt a bit like staring at a digital phone book. Well, today, we're picking up right where we left off to explore how the web finally woke up.
We've all been there, right? Just completely losing track of time on our favorite apps. But let's ask a really simple question. How exactly did we go from reading those frustratingly static, boring text files to doom-scrolling, infinitely personalized feeds? Like, what actually changed under the hood to create the addictive platform ecosystem we live in today?
Well, here's our blueprint for today. 1. Beyond the static web. 2. The tech behind interactivity. 3. Building the town square. 4. Data and economics. 5. The creator workflow. And finally 6. Setting the stage for Web 3.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, Beyond the Static Web, the problem with refreshing.
To really appreciate the modern web, you kind of have to remember the sheer agony of the late 90s internet. Back then, clicking submit meant waiting for this massive, clunky HTML document to entirely reload, usually while someone in the other room yelled at you to get off the dial-up line. We solved this with a split responsibility model. Instead of downloading a whole new page just to see a tiny update, servers started sending just the raw data, letting your browser do the heavy lifting of drawing the screen instantly.
Moving right along to Section 2, the tech behind interactivity. Enter JavaScript and APIs.
The ultimate solution here was dynamic content. Think of it like a restaurant kitchen sending out a side of fries to your table the exact second they're ready, rather than forcing you to wait for the chef to recook your entire meal from scratch just to add those fries. It's all about delivering exactly what you need right when you ask for it without having to reload the whole page and lose your place. Behind the scenes, it's like a well-oiled machine. You've got JavaScript running in your browser, pulling data in the background using AJAX, while servers act purely as data providers through APIs. By separating the underlying data from what you actually see, engineers achieved what's called optimistic UI updates. Honestly, that's really just a polite way of saying the app instantly pretends your comment posted so you feel good, while the backend server furiously sweats in the background trying to actually save it.
So, that brings us to Section 3, Building the Town Square. Architecting centralization.
Now, what's wild is how these technical improvements accidentally triggered massive centralization. Because this new dynamic tech was incredibly complex to host and scale, the era of everyone hosting their own quirky independent websites eventually died out. Instead, people just flocked to centralized platforms that acted like giant, highly efficient digital town squares.
And these mega platforms are built on 3 distinct layers. First, you have the plumbing and hosting infrastructure. Next, the marketplace logic, those matchmaking algorithms that dictate what content you actually discover. And finally, the social graph. That's the invisible web of your friends, followers, and likes, all layered perfectly together to maximize your engagement.
Let's look at Section 4, Data, Algorithms, and Economics, the engine. Paving these massive digital town squares isn't free, right? The secret ingredient to their economic engine is network effects. This is a phenomenon where a platform's value grows exponentially as more people join. Creators naturally want the biggest audience, and consumers want the platform with the most creators. This creates a magnetic lock-in effect. The bigger the platform gets, the harder it is for absolutely anyone to leave. And that lock-in powers a very specific data feedback loop. They collect signals from you, like clicks and dwell time, and use that to improve personalization. That naturally increases your engagement, which then allows them to extract even more data. It creates this powerful economic engine where your convenience fuels a feedback loop, keeping you endlessly scrolling while advertisers foot the bill. Let's move to Section 5, the content creator workflow, the assembly line.
So what actually happens to the people making the content? Well, at every single stage of a creator's workflow, from uploading a simple video to the algorithmic ranking, right down to earning a tiny fraction of a cent from ad auctions, the platform stands firmly in the middle. They provide the tools, sure, but they also set the rules and take a cut at every single checkpoint.
The roles in our modern town square are rigidly defined. Creators produce content, consumers discover it, while the platform and advertisers sit entirely in the background. They're the ones carefully managing the algorithms and the underlying monetization infrastructure that keeps the whole thing running. Because the platform owns the infrastructure, the algorithms, and the social graph, the bargaining power is highly skewed. The platform holds the vast majority of control, leaving creators essentially locked inside a walled garden. Think about it.
You might spend years building a massive audience, pouring your creativity into a channel, but if you decide to leave, you can't just easily pack up your followers and take them with you.
Finally, Section 6, setting the stage for Web3, the cost of convenience.
So while we successfully solved the problem of the boring static web, we inherited a brand new complication. We traded decentralized ownership for incredible convenience. Sure, we got dynamic, beautiful interactions and highly personalized feeds, but we surrendered the ownership of our social graphs and our data portability, basically concentrating global digital economics into the hands of a few massive corporations.
Which leaves us with this final, vital question. We traded our data for convenience, but who really owns the town square? Understanding how we built this centralized interactive web is the absolute prerequisite to understanding what comes next. As you continue your learning journey, be sure to head over to forge.college to explore our next module on Web3, where we'll unpack how decentralization attempts to take the town square back. Thanks for joining me on this Forge College Explainer, and keep exploring.